Yeah, we got 12.
I detect a quorum. Clerk, please take the roll.
Representatives Cassada, Cooper, Doggett, Eldridge, Grills, Johnson, Leatherwood, Mitchell, Sexton, Sherrill, Travis, Warner, Weaver, Vice Chairman Byrd, Chairman Wendell. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Any announcements before we begin? Personal orders? If not, Chairman Helton, you're recognized on the first item, House Bill 1857. You've got a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. House Bill 1857 is Alexander Disease Day. House Bill 1857 designates April 7th as Alexander Disease Day in Tennessee. Alexander disease is an extremely rare, usually progressive and fatal neurological disorder. Historically, it has been included among the leukodystrophies, which is a disease of the white matter of the brain. Initially, it was detected most often during infancy or early childhood, but as better diagnostic tools have become available, has been found to occur with similar frequency at all stages of life. The disease occurs in both sexes, and there are no ethnic, racial, geographic, or cultural economic differences in its distribution. Alexander disease is named after the physician who first described the condition in 1949, W.S. Alexander. The most common form of Alexander disease is the infantile form, which usually becomes apparent during the first 2 years of life. Typically, there are both mental and physical developmental delays followed by loss of milestones, an abnormal increase in head size, and often seizures. Since 1949, approximately 500 cases have been reported, with 4 patients currently living in Tennessee: Grayson Berry Ledbetter of Chattanooga, John Cameron Copeland of Chattanooga, Maris Bryn White of Knoxville, and Gregory Chase Andrews of Hampton. And with your permission, we would like to go out of session to hear from Lee McClure, Executive Director of End Alexander Disease.
Without objection, out of session. And who's your first guest, please?
Lee McClure.
You're recognized. Please come to the microphone and introduce yourself.
Hi, and my name is Lee McClure.
Welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, sir.
You've got a great sponsor.
I've got a great
No
sponsor.
doubt.
And I've got a great bill because
right.
this is, and first of all, thank you for hearing from us. Thank you to Representative Helton for sponsoring this legislation, and I'm hopeful that y'all will all want to co-sponsor this legislation. As Representative Helton mentioned, Alexander disease is a very rare neurological disease. As very rare, meaning we know about 500 people worldwide have this disease, and there are 4 young adults and young children who are living in the state of Tennessee. So relatively speaking, we've kind of got a large percentage of those folks. This disease there's no treatment, there's no cure right now, but we're very hopeful because there's a clinical trial going on. And in this clinical trial, there is reason to believe, we have hope, that there may be a drug approved that will treat and ultimately, hopefully, cure this disease. April 7th, you may be thinking, why Alexander Disease Day? Well, April 7th is the date that the scientists that were working on this, the research scientists, saw definitive positive results in mice. They said they sat down and said, oh my gosh, we see that this is actually stopping the progression of the disease. And that's the drug that's being tested right now. So we wanted to go ahead and bring it before the state legislature, and Representative Helton was just all on for us because we want to raise awareness. People don't know about this. Not only do most people not know, a lot of physicians don't know. So, they don't even know how to diagnose it. So we want to raise awareness. We want the state of Tennessee to be the very first state to really acknowledge this disease so that we can use this information to say, we need to put more resources toward this. Right now, as that trial is going forward, we know that FDA is going to be looking at it, and we feel like if we start here and we acknowledge this day, other states will follow suit. and we can build some momentum to say, this is an important disease that we really want to put resources to. So again, thank you for allowing me to be here. I have some family members here who may want to speak to, how this has impacted them. But again, we're appreciative of the time here of Representative Helton and for your time. Thank you.
Chairman Helton, you're recognized, and introduce whatever the guests you have
Thank
that want
you.
to speak on this topic.
Cameron, would you like to come up and say a few words? No? I think we might like to hear from Tim Ledbetter.
We may have some questions for the guests. Travis, did you have you're recognized?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
Okay, I'm Tim Ledbetter. I'm the grandfather of.
Welcome, we're glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. This is tough. As a granddad, when you're looked in the eye by your son and your daughter-in-law and said, there's no hope, we don't know what to do. If you're a mom or a dad or a grandparent, you want to fix it for them. But when we met with those doctors and they said, we're sorry, there is no hope. There's nothing there. We, as a family, we decided we don't take that as an answer. So we developed Grayson's Ladder, which is a 501c3. And from that, it led to End Alexander Disease, which is a global organization that our family is part of. Our whole purpose is to bring awareness. We've met with so many doctors. I travel for a living. You'll be on an airplane or something, and they've never heard of it. They don't know what Alexander disease is. But it's a cruel, cruel disease. It takes the brain and just takes it away. So awareness is what we're here for. That's what we're trying to do. In Tennessee, I'm a Tennessean. Lead the way. Y'all, we will be the first state to adopt this, and to hopefully other states will follow. We have patients scattered out that we work with and talk with. But thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to us. And I'll answer any questions. I've been here from the day one when we got the diagnosis. Grayson is 9. He was diagnosed at 4, so we've spent 4 years. Cameron is a very special young man. He's fixing to celebrate his 25th birthday. That's very rare for Alexander disease patients. You talk about 1 in a million. He's 1 in hundreds of millions right here. So, questions?
Representative Travis, you're recognized. Who else?
First, Representative Hilton, I do want to sign on to this bill because Tim choked up, and I will choke up too because I have a 4-year-old granddaughter that we don't know what's wrong with her. It's something that we've taken her to Boston and all that. And if you don't live that life, you don't know what it's about. And our prayers are with you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Chairman Helton, you got some other witnesses you want to testify? Or?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have Cameron's mother, Charla.
Please come
Rhodes.
up. Again, we're glad to have you also. You've obviously got a solid family, and it's impressive.
I have great family. Cameron, come up here. Cameron was diagnosed when he was 4, and to be here today and in this room with all of you is something I never ever would thought happen. Cameron was diagnosed at a time when it was extremely rare. We didn't have all the Facebook families. I didn't have any connections or anything. We were, the no hope is what we were given, period, when he was diagnosed at 4. And they told us to go home, enjoy what time we had. There was nothing they could do. We were like, what? And I chose not to believe that. And I've allowed him to be whoever and whatever he's wanted to be. But he is a rarity, I will tell you. This disease is extremely cruel. Cameron has been one of the lucky ones. Not most are like Cameron. Most are on feeding tubes. Most cannot walk. They cannot talk. And it's ugly. It's extremely ugly. And that's what we were faced with at 4, but every year has passed. And March the 11th, he will be 25. So praise the Lord, he's doing as well as he is. and he is, if you knew him and would meet him once or twice, you would know he is a shining bright light in the world. It is amazing how he has been used to be a light to a lot of people. But the awareness that this will bring to the disease and for what we need for not just Cameron, but for the whole Alexander family around the world is amazing. And we cannot thank you enough for even giving us the time to be here and to listen to us and give us this opportunity for the whole Alexander disease family. So do you want to say thank you?
Thank you.
He's a man of little words, which is very ironic because he actually, you can't get him to shut up usually. But he's a little embarrassed. But thank you guys. Do you have any questions? Anybody? Okay.
We're back in
Thank
session.
you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for bringing this family today. We appreciate it.
Cameron is an amazing young man. He is a tremendous, talented artist. I would love for you all to see some of his artwork. It is spectacular.
Question been called for? All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Bill goes to council rules. And again, thank you for bringing this
Thank
nice
you.
family. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Mr.
And thank you
Chairman
for
and
being here
committee.
today. You're obviously a great family. You got a sign-on sheet that's been a request from members of the committee? If not, we'll get one after the committee. We'll serve one. Thank you again very much. We're on item number 2, House Bill 2720 by Dr. Love. You recognize Dr. Love?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I just want to make sure that we do have, there's an amendment to this bill.
We have an amendment. We've got a motion on the bill and a second. We've also got a motion on the amendment now for purpose. The draft code is
013711.
711.
All
Yes,
right.
that's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. This House Bill 2720, this is a bill to establish that November the 8th in Tennessee will be observed as Historically Black Colleges and Universities Day.
You've got a motion on the amendment and a second. Questions been called for on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. All opposed, no. We're back on the bill as amended. You recognize Representative Doggett.
Thank you very much. And I may have asked this last week, and I may not. I can't remember. What was the November 8th? What was the importance of that day?
Thank you for that question. That's the date after the bill was signed, codifying the Historically Black College University Day of the, lost my train of thought here, part of the Higher Education Act at the federal level. And that's why we chose that day. Yes, sir.
Questions been called for on the bill. All in favor of the bill moving to calendar rules, please say aye. All opposed, no. Dr. Love, your bill goes to calendar rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, just want to let members know as you read this resolution, you'll see we have HBCUs all across the state, from West Tennessee to Middle Tennessee to East Tennessee, and we're in efforts now to try to make sure that we keep some of those. I had a conversation with one of the members earlier about how HBCU years ago had to close down, and so we're trying our best to make sure that particularly Knoxville College up in East Tennessee is able to sustain the stuff. And we have HBCU Day next Wednesday here at Capitol Hill, so we invite you certainly to come out and celebrate with our students there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Dr. Love, we appreciate your enthusiasm, your professionalism.
Thanks, sir.
That objection, item number 3, House Joint Resolution 740 by Michael Sparks. Representative, you're recognized. Motion and a second.
Thank you, Chairman.
You're recognized, Mr. Sparks.
Yeah. What this is, HR 740, is bringing awareness to the importance of music therapy in our state and really across our nation. And, really kind of what touched me with this is, there's power in music. Whether we all can kind of find common ground in music. We may not find common ground in other areas, but in music we find common ground. And, I've got a sister in a nursing home. I think some of y'all may know this. She had a brain tumor at 30 and had a bad fall about 3 years ago. In fact, I was in committee, I was in insurance, and she had a bad fall. I got a call. Well, had a brain bleed, she's in a nursing home, lost everything to her name, lost every single thing to her name. So I've kind of seen this. But what was powerful was I seen my sister. I went over to visit her nursing home. It's kind of funny but sad. She was trying to escape the nursing home. She's in a wheelchair. She was at the door trying to get out. And she was singing a song. Chairman, take a guess what song she was singing. John Denver, take a guess. Take Me Home. Yes, she was singing the song. Take Me Home. Wanted to come home. And she looked at me. She knew the words of the song, but she didn't know my name. And she said, "You know how to get out of this place?" And I was like, and I couldn't help but kind of get a little chuckled, But I started thinking, wow, the power of music, And I've talked to James Dunn, who's now the director of Department of Aging and Disability. We're all very proud of him. And I know they have a project, a memory and music. Okay. So I have, that's kind of where this is kind of coming from. We passed the bill last year, Making Amazing Grace official state hymn. There's power in music. But I have a couple of folks, Chairman, if we could go out of session.
Objection, we're out of session. Would you please introduce your first guest?
Yes. I've got Miss Carrie Friedel. She's owner and a clinician at In Harmony Music Therapy of Middle Tennessee.
Ms. Friedel, thanks for coming.
And Jenny Deck, assistant professor, coordinator of music therapy at Austin Peay University. And Chrissy Watson, she's a music therapist, internship director at the Star Center in Jackson, Tennessee. Come over here.
Please be seated. Representative Sparks, who's first?
Real quick on Carrie, she invited me to come out, 2 weeks ago, and I watched her interact with some Parkinson's patients. And because when I used to think of music therapy, I didn't really know all the scientific clinician aspect of it. So I watched her interact at Franklin First Methodist Church over in Franklin, and I know Glenn knows who that's a beautiful church. And I watched her interact with these patients, and I've seen some great work. And it was, it's sad if you ever dealt with someone with Parkinson's. So, I've seen some healing going on, and I've seen the partnership with the faith-based community, which is something we need to be leveraging. So I guess, Carrie, you go first.
Hello, I'm Carrie Friedel. I am a board-certified music therapist and clinician and the owner of In Harmony Music of Middle Tennessee, based here out of Nashville. My central clinic location is actually in Blakemore United Methodist Church here on West End, but I do go down to Franklin United Methodist Church once a week. As well, I've been working in private practice for 16 years throughout Middle Tennessee and a little bit of Southern Kentucky. And music therapist is an individual who has completed an educational program approved by the American Music Therapy Association, including clinical training, and holds the Music Therapist Board Certified, the MTBC, credential issued by the Certification Board for Music Therapists. I'm originally a graduate of music from Trevecca Nazarene University, and I went on to earn my music therapy equivalency degree from Tennessee Technological University in 2005. They no longer have the program, but we're going to talk about what programs are in the state. And the populations that I have served over my career have included children, youth, adults diagnosed with developmental and intellectual delays and disabilities, including those on the autism spectrum, Down syndrome, Angelman syndrome, and cerebral palsy, to name a few. I've also worked with older adults who are diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and other neurological conditions and dementia-related disorders, such as Alzheimer's. In particular, related to children on the autism spectrum, I have used music and music-related interventions to work towards their non-musical goals of behavior modification, increased communication, to increase socialization skills, because making music is very social interaction and increases communication, like I said. I also use music to help with educational goals and increase understanding and cognition as it relates to how to function in daily life. And as related to persons with Parkinson's disease, I was thrilled to have Representative Sparks come watch the Peterson Voices. They are through the Peterson Foundation for Parkinson's. This is Brent Peterson's foundation, who was the assistant coach to the Nashville Preds. I've been working with them since 2017, doing a singing group, because with Parkinson's, your voice tends to lower, get gravelly, become monotone, bass can freeze, and music has been shown, and there has been some research that singing helps increase their vocal volume. And we have worked with Vanderbilt University to study the group as well. There's no official research, but they have done studies with speech and language pathologists and shown improvement. Music activity and singing with a group ensemble has also been researched to show improvement of mood, to fight symptoms of apathy and depression. Because of my training, board certification, and the continuing education requirements to renew my credential every 5 years, my clients have access to quality care to track and follow their progress through music therapy techniques and best practices. I ask for your support for this resolution to bring more awareness of music therapy in the state of Tennessee. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to Chrissy Watson if we have.
Hi, my name is Chrissy Watson. I come from West Tennessee, so I'm over in Jackson and made the drive this morning and was pleased to see that our entire state is on the road with construction. So that's really great to see that it's here as well. But I have lived in this wonderful state for almost 10 years, going on 10. And the job was what brought me to Tennessee. I was living in North Carolina before, also practicing there. I've practiced for a total of 15 years as a board certified music therapist and have loved pretty much every day of it. It's wonderful to bring music to people, to experience their change, just because of, as Representative Sparks said, the power of music. And I've loved seeing that I work for the Star Center, which is a nonprofit in Jackson, Tennessee, and we have the privilege of seeing individuals, regardless of disability, achieving their potential. So we get to work with a variety because we're kind of it in West Tennessee as far as music therapy goes. So we get to see multiple counties, all the way up to the Kentucky border, down into Mississippi, and over to Memphis. We serve some in Memphis as needed, but we have music therapists across the state, but there is kind of a little dearth of music therapy in West Tennessee, and we would love to see more of it, or at least allow people to be aware that music therapy exists and has the potential to make so many life impacts. I have loved to serve neonatal all the way up to nursing home. We have seen progress even in the occasional dementia patient, and that's rare, if not to say you never see that. But to see memory be sparked through music, to help a grandmother remember the name of her new granddaughter who was born after her dementia diagnosis and be able to use music to help her create lullabies for her granddaughter. That has been one just immense pleasure of mine. We also, as Representative Sparks said, we also have an internship program there. Right now, there are only 3 national roster internship programs in the state of Tennessee. So that means that a lot of students, Jenny will speak to in a second, who go through music therapy programs here in our state don't have anywhere to go for an internship, and that's a requirement to complete our degree. So in order to practice, they often have to go out of state, and guess where they stay? They stay out of state. We actually had an intern recently who was from Jackson, But because Indiana has a waiver program and music therapy is all included on that, and everybody there is aware of music therapy as a profession, she found a great job there and unfortunately had to leave our county and our state to go work there. And hopefully one day we will have her back. She's a wonderful music therapist, but it's that type of access that we are hoping to seek for our clients, specifically awareness today. We would love to just see people in our legislature understand a little bit more maybe about music therapy. We welcome whatever questions you guys have, and we just seek to raise that awareness in our state, because I've loved the 10 years that I've stayed here. I would love to stay for much longer and see more growth as we go. Thank you so much.
Just very quickly, I'll chime in here. My name is Jenny Dank, and I'm assistant professor and coordinator of music therapy at Austin Peay State University. I'm proud to share that last week we celebrated our program's first birthday. Our program is the newest program in the state, along with University of Tennessee at Chattanooga and Belmont University. We are the three training universities that offer this degree program. What this tells me is there is momentum for music therapy to grow within the state of Tennessee. One of my tasks in my role is educating the Clarksville community about the benefits of music therapy for the people who live there. And in that role, I've been able to establish partnerships with a local elementary school in their special education classroom, a local memory care facility for older adults with memory care issues, as well as our on-campus preschool. And so we've been able to take students to have clinical training opportunities in those environments and build the clinical skills that they need. And it's our hope that through these awareness opportunities, we can not only educate the community members about the benefits, but then increase access to services for members of our community who could benefit from using music to improve motor skills, communication skills, cognitive skills, social skills, and emotional needs. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. The objection, we're back in session. You recognize Representative Sparks.
Yeah, I didn't know if any members had any questions for them. I do think that, I have this crazy theory. I brought up in, I think it was finance last week, we were meeting with TDOC about our prison budget. It's increased $600 million since I was elected in 2010. $600 million. So I was thinking, because a lot of those folks have anger problems, they've got hurts. If you go back and study behavior and the disconnect that exists sometimes, I do think that if this moved the needle 1%, that's significant. That's significant. We've got a mental health crisis on our hands, as we all know. And one person I do want to recognize is a guy named J.T. Cooper back home. He works with a group called Warrior Rounds. He works with Nashville songwriters, and he gets these guys together, and they'll work with folks that have lost a loved one in Iraq or work with former veterans. As y'all know, the veteran suicide rate's about 21 per day, or used to be. I think it's maybe a little lower. But I've seen kind of the healing that he's had with writing songs, and if it could move the needle 1% or 5%, look at the savings. So I see this as kind of an investment. So I just wanted to bring some awareness. I think maybe some members.
You've got two questions. First of all, Representative Sexton, you're recognized, and Representative Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to say that music is important. Songs are important. And I appreciate you taking the time to go beyond Representative Sparks and find some good in those, telling us the stories, as you have many times, about Amazing Grace and John Newton, a slave ship owner, and how he became saved and became a preacher and an advocate working with William Wilberforce to get the slaves freed. Yesterday I was thinking about one of my most beloved songs, which is "It Is Well With Your Soul." It is well with my soul. And many of you probably know the story behind that. Horatio Spafford was a very wealthy lawyer in Chicago, and he had 4 children, 1 son and 4 daughters. He had 5 children, 1 son and 4 daughters. And during that time in the 1800s, that's when the Great Fire of Chicago left him with a lot of his wealth gone in that fire. Right before that time, his 4-year-old son, Horatio Jr., had passed away. About a year later, after they got through that tragedy, he thought it would be good that his family take a vacation. He wanted to go see his good friend D.L. Moody that would be preaching over in London. And because of some business, he had to not go on the voyage with his wife and 4 daughters. So he stayed back, and his wife and 4 daughters went on. And during that voyage, another ship crashed into them, and the ship went down. And he received a message from London from his wife that said, "Saved alone." So he lost all 4 of his daughters during that voyage. So he went as quickly as he could to meet with his wife on another ship. And as they got to the place where his daughters, the ship went down that his daughters was on, the captain called him to the bridge and let him know that this would be the spot. The story has it that he went back to his cabin and he sat down and he wrote the words to this song, "It Is Well With My Soul." And so I've asked Terry Lynn if she could sing that stanza of that song, if it would be okay with the chairman.
This also happens to be, we put in motion in this committee that this was the Songwriters Week, the last week of February the 28th as well. So this kind of coincides with that as well. I'd be honored to. If you want to sing with me, you're welcome. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrow like billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. And you say, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. And that's what music does. It makes your soul well.
Thank you. You recognize Representative Doggett. Okay, we've got one more question, if that's okay. Right. You recognized Representative Gloria.
I just wanted to say thanks for this bill. I've seen it do a lot for children over time, and it really is powerful, and it's helped a whole lot of kids that are difficult to reach.
Thank you, Representative Johnson. Back to Representative Doggett. Question's been called for. All in favor of the bill going to calendar rules, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Bill goes to calendar rules. And thank you again for being our visitors today.
Thank you.
You did an excellent job, and we appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
No further business detected. We are now adjourned.